So I worked on this motor a little bit yesterday, but I didn't make a video. Or I did, but I didn't upload it or something, I don't know. But anyway, we got the fittings in for the full flow. We got the Berg full flow front cover there. We plugged the pump up for full flow, obviously. I need to get some nuts for the oil pump, some oil pump nuts that have this red sealing ring on. You put them upside down with no washer, and it seals these off really nice. You can usually pick those up at your VW supplier. That's the only place you don't use a spring washer, and you incorporate the locking nut upside down on the oil pump. Works out real well. So got the sump bolted on there, and ready to do the piston cylinders next and pull the heads apart. I didn't make it out in the garage today. I had doctor's appointments and stuff, and gotta get more MRIs. So gonna be messing with the doctors for the next week or two, but I want to try to get this motor assembled as far as I can, and I'm gonna buy some sheet metal for it and try to make everything new on it. I need to pick up an oil cooler for it, and I was going to get the scat sheet metal for it. And it comes powder coated if you buy it that way, rather than trying to have it done here. And then if anybody wanted to buy the motor and upgrade it with a Volkswagen fan shroud, you know, we could go that way for more money. But for right now, it'll just have the standard replacement sheet metal on there, rather than trying to dig up a full set of original VW and have it all powder coated, and it'll work out for this motor because this is more of a, you know, street race motor. So that's where we're at. I got the cam to fit in there. I learned some interesting stuff on the cams, on the ELC extra low clearance cam from Berg. And I thought I would give you this little bit of information. I got this from Scooter, and I thought it was pretty good. We were talking about American car stuff. I worked on a funny car team for a while. I used to build pro mod motors and stuff, and I try to incorporate some of that stuff into what we do now. And some of the people that I work for have some really good videos on YouTube, and I was getting scared to watch him, and I was shocked that he took the time to watch quite a few of the Master Series engine building university videos with Dick Maskin and Dave Morrison, or Dave Rare from Rare Morrison, and they're pro stock engine builders, and they have some really good information. And on an American car, when you build a big motor like that, you try to make the cam core as big as you can. And on an aftermarket big block, the cam core is moved up in the block quite a bit, and you end up running a 55 millimeter cam core, and you get a large amount of nose radius the time the valve hangs open, and you can make the ramps real soft, so it's easier on the valve train. However, they were talking about the importance of increasing the roller size on the roller lifter. And Scooter didn't understand the concept behind that. And the reason why they make the roller as big as they possibly can is because the bigger the roller is, the slower it turns. Less friction, more horsepower. So he was telling me about these cams, and we sort of, we talked about this. A couple of my subscribers mentioned these in the catalog. And Scooter, he doesn't like these. And, you know, I said, well, why wouldn't you like that? You know, and he goes, well, you know, you cut the backside off of the cam like this to make the lobe smaller, further away from the counterweight. It speeds the lifter up. So when you get one of these cams, your lifter's hauling ass on that ramp. You know, it's not your standard pattern anymore. It's having to cover more area more often. So the more you shrink this, the more the lifter has to go around. So the more cycles the engine sees, the faster the lifter goes. And I found that pretty interesting. And when you speed the lifter up, of course, you know, Jeezy was talking about controlling the lifter. And what he means by controlling the lifter is when the lifter runs over the, here's a lifter. When the lifter comes up and runs over the lobe of this cam, instead of going and sitting on the top, it runs over and jumps over this. It makes the cam bigger, of course. And this is a dramatic interpretation of what really goes on. But the lifter loses contact with the cam and then makes contact back over on this side. And unless you have really good valve spring to control that extra speed. So that was something that Scooter pointed out to me, which I thought was really damn interesting. And every once in a while we'll get into a conversation and I'll learn something, you know, and he'll learn something. But that's where we're at with that. Talked to Noel. He's going to be racing the Pro Mod car on the 20th or 21st, I think, in Georgia. Don't know if I'm going to go or not, but you guys are going to be in, I think it's at Reynolds is where he's going to race the car. We'll see how it goes. But that's what's going on here. Got some paper and sandpaper today, continuous paper. I've been waiting for continuous paper to come in for a while. And it was out of stock in our area for some reason. And I still can't get any of the sponges, the 3M sponges. So anybody has a part number for those sponges, let me have it so I can order some. I need to get a new 3M catalog, but apparently, you know, I've been buying my paper from Sherwin-Williams because we co-op it together and it's cheaper to buy from them because they buy such a volume of sandpaper that if I go to the warehouse and buy it at National Oak, I end up paying more. But I was looking for one of those sanding sponges. Somebody sent me a couple of them and I used them, whittled them down to nothing. Here they are. But this is a fine one and it worked really good. I used it to scuff the Nova when I did the jams, and I went over all the primer with it, and it gets all these nice little edges and corners and stuff like that where you can't get with a normal block. And I guess, you know, it's not for making the panel straight, it's for final prep, but I like it better than a piece of sandpaper, and I like it better than a Scotch-Brite pad, but they don't seem to be available in my area, so I don't know if that's just a 3M thing, or they market them in different areas, or they sell them in different parts of the world, but you know, not so much here. This looks like it's a small piece, like it came from a box store, you know, maybe in a work pack or something. Maybe it's just not available in bulk. I don't know. I know there's guys that use that stuff though, and if you guys got a number for me, that'd be great. So I gotta get this linkage out when we get the carbonator going, get those bolted to the intake manifolds. They need some port work. Here's the manifolds we're going to use. These have been match port to the CB Performance wedge port heads. They look pretty sexy down there. It's all CNC ported, but I don't look so good here. So probably going to end up having to port those and possibly weld these manifolds up. We'll see how it goes. I want to try to at least match the butterfly and the carburetor, you know, so we don't have any restriction. And then port those all the way through. You can see the CNC machine only comes up so far and stops. And probably for an extra fee, you could have them turn them over and port the other side. I just didn't opt to do that. And you could also get CB Performance, you know, so you don't want to grind on a cam like that. For an extra $100, they'll throw it on the lathe and turn it down for you, so you won't have any issues. And I'm going to build another motor after this, a 94 motor. I'm going to use I don't know if I'm going to use a mag case. I want to use a magnesium case. I want to buy a couple of cases, so if anybody out there is interested in picking up a new OEM mag case at a pretty good deal. I mean, you guys know what they go for, $9.50 at the stores when you try to buy them, or a show. And I'm going to try to buy 10 of them so I can get a good deal. I know Scooter wants a couple of them, and I want to build another motor after this. I have those 94 heads. They're big valve head. They're the Rebmaster style head. Got the big solid combustion chamber. They look really sweet, and They have extra cooling fans on them, so they're supposed to run really good. I want to build a 1914 or a 74 by 94 motor out of those, and keep it mellow because the heads aren't really big as far as port volume, but they'll be good for the street. So somebody asked me what's a good motor for the street, and I like 1776. It depends on your budget. If you have the money to buy a stroker crank, obviously the motor will make more power, and the bigger you make the motor, the more torque it makes, so it'll be more powerful down low if you choose the right cam. This is an all-out, probably 8,000, 8,500 RPM engine with a cam that's in here, and the cylinder heads we're using. Of course, that wouldn't be ideal for the street, but CV has a wide selection of heads. They have the mini wedge ports, work really well on a 1776. It'll make really good power, and the biggest consideration is what you have to spend for carburation, and what your total dollar budget amount is, and then you can decide what your best combination would be for that dollar. I think the CV engine kit started at like $4,200 range, and I went on Scat's site and they also sell engine kits there, and you have to make your decision. I don't personally like the Scat heads too much for the street. I think the CV Performance has the market covered on cylinder heads as far as the quality and the performance of the piece you get when you order it. But the rest of the motor is, up to your choice. A lot of people, Volkswagen purists, would never use an aluminum case. They're mag case only, and mag cases, in my opinion, are probably a better piece. I really haven't abused this motor. We've turned it over a little bit, but everywhere there's a rod sitting on the cylinder here, or the cylinder spigot, or the landing for the cylinder, they're all damaged from the rod going in and out. Turning the motor over, and the rod riding out here has scored this aluminum, and that would never happen in a mag case. This is just so soft that it has no deflection. When you dent it, it stays dented. So we'll have to clean that up before we put the barrels in. And my recommendation, if you're building one of these, it might be smart to put a piece of duct tape down there so it doesn't leave witness marks from the rods going in and out while you're assembling the motor. Never experienced that before, and I don't usually use H-beam rods when I build an aluminum case motor. Normally when I build a motor for somebody, it's not a stroker motor, because most people don't have that budget. It's not that I don't like building those motors, but you can see there's a lot of custom stuff that goes into putting one of those together, and if you miss any of that stuff, it's just going to shorten the life of the engine, and those are just steps you have to take. And there's assembly procedures. You really need to assemble the motor once before you seal it. Make sure everything's turning over nice and clearing. And you have to order the right rod bolt and cam combination, so you don't get into what we dealt with, and all that stuff. So basically what you do is you figure out what the dollar amount is you want to spend, and then we tailor that motor to that dollar amount and use the best parts we possibly can to build you a dependable motor. So it's hard to say, hey, this is the rock solid motor for you, but one good combination that we used to build at Scooters a lot would be like a stock 1914, and people are like, what's that? And that's a stock cam. It has the 94 piston cylinders on there, and it makes power to about 4,200, 4,500. So you're not abusing the valve train, and you get a little bit of power from the displacement, and it's rock solid as far as dependability. You'll notice no difference between 1600 or a 1914 if you use the right parts as far as dependability goes. So our 1776, you get a little more cylinder wall thickness with that. And you go over to Easy Jeezy, he's using some of those slip-in 88s. However, I love Easy Jeezy, but he'll try stuff that I won't, and I won't use A&A cylinders over here. So if you want those, you you'll have to go somewhere else and have those installed, because SEMA or malls here, it's just not worth it. You know, everything we do to a motor, and all this that we've done so far is just basic clearance stuff to make the motor turn. And it's got an 82 crank in there with H-beam rods, and it looks fast, but this makes the motor not go fast at all. That's for dependability and strength and clearance, for one thing. But the power comes from the seal on the cylinders and the cylinder head. And if your jugs aren't sealed up, it doesn't matter how good your heads are. So you need to, it's a combination of things to make work. But the cylinders, those hyper-eutectic pistons, if you miss the tune-up just a little bit and it detonates once, it'll just explode the piston. They're very susceptible to detonation. And you'll see those for sale a lot on the Samba. You go on there, there are a lot of times the sets are broken. It'll be just a set of pistons. People buy them for the cylinders and put a set of Wasecos in there, or Wisecos. We call them Wasecos because they're made in China now. But anyway, you know, it's hard to fix a bullet hole with a Band-Aid. That's a song, I think. But it's the same way with parts. You know, if you got a part that costs $169 and the good part costs $300, chances are they missed something in that translation. You know, you're not going to get the same piece that you would if you spent $340 for the SEMA pistons that you will when you get the A&As. For one, you're going to get a forged piston, a truly forged piston that will hold up to some abuse, and you're going to get a really good cylinder that's made out of good material that the rings will seat to. And you know, a lot of times people think I'm bullshitting them, but we can go down to Scooters. He's got a couple of the cheaper cylinders down there, and of course he saves them, you know, but you can actually hold the cylinder up and see through it. You know, there's porosity where you can actually see pinholes through the cylinder. They were actually leaking. And so, you know, it's always best to save up a little more money, wait a little bit longer, and buy a better piston cylinder. And then you get, you know, a better quality piece that you're going to be happy with for a long time. Of course, there's always the guy that doesn't have the budget for this. And yeah, those are the guys that really don't want to work on it anymore, because you just you sacrifice that dependability when you don't buy the proper parts, and it just gives the guy that's building the motor a bad reputation. So protect my integrity, I only use better parts. You know, they're not the best, but they're what you need to make the motor last. So all right, I'm gonna call it a day. It's been a rough day for me. And I'm gonna go inside, chill out for a while. It's 10 o'clock, 10:30. I gotta call a few people. I gotta answer. Cutworm sent me an email. Easy Jeezy wants me to give him a call at home, and I'm gonna do both of those. But today was just a bad day, so had a couple of those, and I just can't control it. So I'll get with you tomorrow. Easy. And Cutworm, I'll look at your email, and maybe we can work something out. I know Cutworm asked me what parts to bring, and you know, bring a long block with you. I think you can put all the sheet metal on and paint all that stuff yourself. But if you bring me a long block, or a couple of them, I'll make you one good one. And we'll take it apart, all the way apart. We might have to buy some piston cylinders. I just went over the importance of the cylinder seating. And if you guys are trying to resurrect a motor that has been, you know, seized up for years upon end, and you're putting that mystery oil down in the cylinder, and you finally do get it to break free, chances are, you know, you're going to have issues down the road if you don't have them right from the start. So that's all I'm saying. If you bring me a couple motors, we'll take it apart. We'll glass bead everything. We'll make everything really sweet. We'll put it back together for you, and you'll have one good motor. So how's that sound? So that's what you need to bring, the whole damn thing. And I think that's it. I showed you everything. I put the sump on there, put the pump on there. We plugged the pump, made it a full flow. I didn't buy a full flow pump. You have to tap it and put a plug in it. And it's bolted on right now. But that's about it. It's really cool watching these Jeezy's videos. Go over there. He actually has the Gene Berg Book of Instructions, which I no longer possess. I have it in my head, most of it, but it's hard to articulate the book to you guys without the book. And Jeezy was making the lifter modification where you notch the lifter. And I've had several people ask me, you know, hey man, why do you notch the lifter? Shouldn't do that. And or you should use a better tool to do it with, or whatever. You know, I've had 100 comments, but if you don't notch this lifter from here to there, it's not getting any oil up to the top of the motor, or you got a high lift cam. And I've explained that to you several times, but I don't think a lot of people don't get the concept. And the book goes into detail and tells you how when you put a high lift cam, it pulls this lifter out of its duty cycle, and it's no longer lined up, the feed hole of the lifter and the case, the hole in the case. So if you don't notch it between here and here, we don't get any lifter through the push rod to the top of the motor. And you don't have to notch the lifter on a stock motor. It will put a little more oil to the top of the motor if you do. And you know, it's all about keeping those valve springs and stuff happy. And you need oil to do that. So will it run without the notch? Sure it will. How long? I don't know. And you know, that's the point. Are you gonna build a motor like this and never turn it up, or are you gonna, you know, turn it up and run the crap out of it? I'm gonna turn it up. You know, I'll turn it, whatever it'll turn. It should turn about 8,500 with the heads we got. So you know, that's what it'll turn. And when you start spinning it hard like that, you got to make sure stuff's right. And these are all little tricks you can't miss. So check Easy Jeezy out. He's trying to go over that a little bit and read paragraph per paragraph in the book, and it's much easier to comprehend that way. And I really need to work on getting a copy of that book, and that way when I try to do something and show it to you, I can actually show it to you in text, and then you can get a better idea of what they're talking about. So I know I confuse people sometimes, but my end results are usually good. So anywho, I'm going to go ahead and button this up, close the garage down, and call it a day. You guys go out there and make the best of it. Push that record button. And thanks for all the phone calls and stuff. I'm chugging along, man. I'm just having to make some adjustments, and it's a little disheartening. So we're working on it, guys. Trying to get back out here more often, but right now I'm just dealing with some stuff.